Hello everyone, so welcome to my YouTube channel Japin Vlogs. So in this video I'm going to tell you about the things which I have learned in Capilano University, particularly about the North American business law. Well, before going to this class I thought like we would be a bunch of students, but fortunately we are just 5, and I believe learning in a small class like 5 people only is much more convenient to ask your questions to the teacher. And you know what makes it more special to having a teacher like Professor Michael sir. Oh, I'm really sorry, just Michael, because Michael do not like when we call him sir. So let's start the video without wasting your precious time. So as I told you before, I have learned so many different kind of things during my this class, like we say liability rather than responsibility, and we also say dividend rather than interest. Moreover, we prefer to say capital, not the money. And topics like small claim courts, Parliament of Canada, corporation, civil court, and ADR are one of my favorite. But plaintiff versus defendant and how to sue someone are one of my all-time favorite topics. Wait. I don't think so. I can tell you guys like what I have learned during this class. So let's start from the beginning. The first class was on 10th of January. To make it more enjoyable and knowledgeable, Michael gave us a scenario like what we will do if our plane crashes on a desert, whom you will elect your president, what duties you will do, and what kind of stuff you will do. So this was the first lesson which Michael taught us, and then he taught us about lawyers, government, MLA, MP, city councillors, and small claims fact pattern in British Columbia. Then we moved to our next class, which was on 17th of January, in which we learned about the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms and the Human Rights Code, in which we were taught Charter versus Human Rights Code, where the Charter allows Canadians to challenge laws. Human Rights Code allows Canadians to challenge the rules and policies that are set by private organizations. Then our next class was on 24th of January. To make it more interesting, Michael took all of us to outside our class, as you can see in the video. Then after coming back to the class, we learned about courts and ADR. Well, in Canada, you can file your case under 3 laws, which are criminal law, civil law, and regulatory law. We also learned about the famous case of Michael Jackson's death, where after his death, his family filed their case under all these laws. Then we also learned about the burden of proof, which is definitely on plaintiff. Then small cases accepts cases between $5,000 and $35,000, and then ADR, which means alternative dispute resolution. Well, there are 3 types of ADR, which are negotiation, mediation, and arbitration. Oh, you heard meditation? No, it is mediation. Then the next class was on 31st of January, which was basically an online class. You might be thinking why it was online. You know why? Because usually it takes me 2 hours to reach at our school, and to all of us also. Then he gave us a chance to do odd and even method, like 1 week online and the next week definitely offline. So in this class we continued ADR and corporations, partnerships, and sole proprietorships, where Michael gave an excellent example to all of us to make it understandable, like Laris Daly in sole proprietorship, Laris Daly and Sons in partnership, and Laris Daly Incorporation. Then we learnt about board of directors and their journal rules, and we also did some case law exercises. Then the next class was on 7th of February, where we continued about corporations, partnerships and sole proprietorships. Then we also did two worksheets on business organization review. Then we also learned a few things about AGM, which means annual journal meeting, which held once in a year. And we also learned about the agenda of this meeting. At the end, we also got a task to become the director of your company and ask others to give their shares in your favor. And we all give our speech. Unfortunately, I lost and only Ram gave me his like 6 or 7 shares on. Then we moved to the next class, which was on Valentine's Day, 14th of February, which was also online, and where we continued corporations, partnerships and sole proprietorships. Then we also continued business organizations review work, and then we also did review on our last week examination of mid semester. So the next week after this class we did not had any class because of reading break. Then moving to next week, so our class was on 28th of February. At first we had a Zoom meeting with Brownie May, so each of us was allowed to ask one question each to Brownie May. After that we had our mid-semester quiz. Then we had a work to do sample business letter with the help of any AI. So the next class was on 7th of March, which was basically online. So it was all about torts, in which we learned torts and negligence and the duty of care. So what is torts? A tort is unintentional or intentional conduct or behavior that causes harm to another person. So there are two purposes of tort: to allow one party to compensate the other party, and to ensure that people and companies behave safely and carefully in the society. Then we learnt about negligence. So in plain English, negligence means careless behavior that causes harm. So in negligence we learnt about negligent drivers, teachers, doctors, engineers and adventure tourist guides. We also learned about the famous case of Donner Jury versus Stevenson 1932. I know my pronunciation is bad, but I will add the picture of it in the video. In Trots 2, we learnt about defamation, invasion of privacy, trespass to land, fraud, the story of Frank Abagnale, conversion and nuisance. The next class was in campus, which was on 14th of March. So there were only two people in the class, which was me and Edison. Prinka, Ram and Avad was not present in the class, so Michael thought to take both of us to the North Vancouver court. But before that, Edison hit his car in the college parking area, so we spent around 30 to 45 minutes to repair his car with the tape. Then we visited to Brownie May's office in North Vancouver. Then we visited to court, where we met with sheriffs who told us they have equal rights as police officers have. Then we went to provisional court, where we saw many lawyers. They were also in professional attires, and I really believe there were more female than males. Everyone just doing their stuff, writing something, and they have their laptops to record or to do something. We also visited two courtrooms. We saw many judges, many lawyers who were fighting for their clients. To be very honest, it is very boring to become a lawyer. In two cases, if there is a case about sexual harassment, and also if the case is about minority, if the person is below 18, we can't enter the courtroom to hear the case. So that was very interesting and a knowledgeable day for me. We also visited to the place where we can file for our small claims. Then we also talked to the officer. Then we came to know about that nowadays they are solving cases in 9 months, but we used to think about that they are giving solution between 2 and 3 years. Moving to next class, which was on 21st of March. So basically it was again online. So in this class we learnt about contracts. What is contracts? And then Michael also shows us the famous video of Frank Abagnale, which is basically based on the story of fraud. Moving to next class, which was on 28th of March, which was in college. So we continued about contracts. So we learnt about cause of actions, the famous mockball case, and we also learnt about the conditions and how contracts are made. And we also learnt about binding of contract. If someone do a contract on tissue, it is equally binding as a professional contract, and the contract is also capable to be equal binding if it's done on phone, just with the thumbs up only. And then we also learnt about the famous case of Jarvis versus Swens Tour Limited. Then we continued this class with damages of breach, conditions and warranties, sales of goods sold, and together we also made a contract. Then Michael compared our contract with his professional contract. So this class ended here. Then the next class was on 4th of April, which was basically online again. In this class, Michael gave us a lot of instructions in which we have to give a group presentation. Then we also had a 10-minute interview with the Michael in which he will judge our skills of English language and our knowledge about the course. Then we also have to show a YouTube video to him which I am making. So this would be the last class of business law. Hey everyone, so this is the end of the video. I really hope you will gonna like this, but please do not judge me because this was my first time to make this kind of video and in English. So I really hope you will like the video. If you don't like the video, then I think I will get very less marks. So thank you very much again. So hope for the best. So please give me more marks. Thank you. Bye.